Okay, Central America, Guatemala, went up to Panajachel, Lake Atalan. We changed all this money in Guatemala City. It was dangerous. All the buses had bullet holes in them, and there was a place to leave your gun. We changed all these travellers checks and then got robbed on the bus and didn't even realise it was the middle of the day. Got off the bus. Where's my mourner's bum bag had been opened, and they'd got in there, got all the cash and done the bum bag up, and she was wearing it around her neck. Unbelievable. So yeah, this is Lake Atalan. And the big volcano at the end. Beautiful area. We had to bribe these nuns to get a police report. I had to go and try and find accommodation while that was happening. I couldn't speak a word of Spanish. It was quite funny. There was a rainbow circle happening with all the hippies up around the coast, so we walked into that. That was quite fun. And we got off. We were staying in San Pedro on the other side, and then got off the boat and realised there was no accommodation, and the only place for accommodation was a sacred pyramid temple workshop place. And the woman was American. She was trying to suck money out of us, but anyway, we managed to get in. There was they were doing a channeling session that night in this huge pyramid. You had to go underground to get inside the pyramid, and all the bungalows were made out of like pyramids as well, with the little root glass windows in the top. So that was pretty cool. We hung out there, did the seance, the channeling. This was a sweat lodge. Waited for the boat the next day and got away. And then up into Honduras, the Maya ruins. This is 1996. These beautiful pyramids. Amazing area. The Colosseum. Mourner. Amongst the ruins. It was hard finding food. They weren't really into vegetarianism. We went out to the coast, and a Lonely Planet was ideal. Backpacker beach. Not this particular picture, but I remember going out to the coast of Honduras, the north coast on the Caribbean, checked into this backpackers, and this guy's like, get inside quick. He said, if you want to go down the shop, you need to tell me and I'll come down with you with a machete. Loads of crime. And we went down the beach, and kids trying to steal all our stuff off us while I was sitting there. Anyway, we escaped all that and went out to the island of Utila in the Gulf of the Caribbean and did our dive masters out there. And swam with whale sharks. These dodgy little flights coming in. We fly out to Utila. The reef around the island was beautiful. The problem was the island was covered in bloody sandflies. I was making little pyramids. There were Mayan ruins, and yeah, this is up on the north coast of Utila. Me mucking around in the sand. Tarantula. They move fast. Hanging out with these German boys. Hanging out at the end of the airport. Bit scary. Beautiful coastline. We were saved in the end. A Kiwi couple turned up, and they'd made mosquito nets that were midgie proof. It was the only way we'd get any sleep, otherwise you'd just be scratching the whole time. The mosquitoes were out of control. Out on the dive boat. So yeah, we did our dive tickets, our dive masters, swam with my first whale shark. That was pretty amazing, swimming in amongst all these schools of bonito. And this huge whale shark came up from underneath. These beautiful shells, I think the locals eat them. Really, very beautiful island. Shiva moon. Hanging out on the beach by the looks, doing some drumming. Oh, maybe this was Okay, so this is a little island off Utila, which was a fairly small island anyway. It was called Bamboo Island, and for $1 US a night you could put your hammock up in amongst the coconut trees. We took a little tent as well. 96. We hung out on this island for quite a few nights. It was fantastic. I'm snorkeling out in here and the pelicans are coming in, and you free dive down underneath all the little fish, and the pelicans coming in with their mouths open while you're under the water and scooping up these fish. I remember this guy, we hired the boat, take us over there and bring us back again, and we'd cleaned up all the beaches, put it into plastic bags, rubbish bags, and on the way back to Utila we've looked out the back of the boat and this guy's just chucked all the rubbish bags off the back. We had to go back and pick them all up. The Caribbean, here we are. This is Coconut Island. You could walk around it in like 5 minutes. Really beautiful. And stunning water, like 30-40 metre visibility. Lots of nurse sharks and turtles. This is flying back to England, drinking champagne at altitude. Absolutely off our chops. A couple of photos of me working in Hong Kong for Germany, for Warner Brothers. It was coming into December, it was absolutely freezing, and Warner Brothers Movie World were making all of this, and I was involved in building parts of the roller coaster. '97, Hong Kong. Ended up working on the airport. 30,000 men working on this airport any one time. Had its like its own city, and this is the northwest concourse of the airport. Well, it's the whole concourse. I ended up building the northwest concourse. First off, I was building the area you walk out on to get onto the aircraft with these Nepalese boys. Then I ended up managing to scam a job as a plumber, and I was plumbing all northwest concourse. It was like 6 floors of plumbing to go into all the toilets and everything. Luckily I had a team of 10 Filipino plumbers that knew what they were doing, because I had absolutely no idea. It took me over a week just to work out what part of the building I was in, and on average 1 person a week was killed on the work site. They bulldozed this island to make Cheplakok Airport, and it was the largest earth-moving feat ever done on the planet in the amount of time they did it. But the problem was the island was made of silica. You get silicanosis, which is like this really fine powder that gives you really bad respiratory issues. Beautiful, massive airport. And I was living in this beach called Moyo. Moyo and Poyo, 2 different beaches. I walked up here once to fly a kite and the wind dropped out. Yeah. So I ended up living here. There was a bit of an English crew. Moyo, so this is, you get the bus over here to go over to the ferry to take you back to Hong Kong. Or if you went over behind us, you'd get a little boat to take you over to the airport where I was working. Koh Lanta. No, hang on, this one's Koh Lanta I was living on. This one's maybe Lama Island. And you've got all the expats, all the English teachers. We used to hang out. I think that's Steve there, drumming on the beach Saturday afternoons. Get off our little island and go and hang out. These are the little boats we used to take across to work in the mornings. Filthy water. So this is 97, before it went back into English rule. English rule before it went back into Chinese rule. Dave. I forget this guy's name. He was an American. Ended up living in his house for a while. And the island itself, Lantau Island, there was a national park up and behind where we lived, so we'd get up into the waterfalls. It was really good. Get away from everyone. Charlie and Sarah, maybe. The markets. Charlie, and I don't know who that is. Up in the waterfalls. Great escape. Living in a big city and being able to get out. Out into nature. This looks like a temple. So it's the Boom Festival in '95 in a forest in Portugal. I went through with Bongo Paul in his combi van, Lucy, Bongo Paul, Emma, and a girl called Rachel. And we did the Boom Festival. It's on a different location these days. It was quite a mad trip through Europe. So we drove from England, I think we're on the train, through France, Spain, into Portugal, and I flew back to England. Thinking this is the Boom Festival as well. So you got out of Hong Kong, went back to England, and it wasn't working out with Morna. So I left and flew to India. No, I was back in Hong Kong again. Anyway, I ended up back in India to do a Vipassana, the 11-day meditation retreat. And this guy here, he was the gardener at the retreat, and he used to give me little tobacco biddies, which are like tiny little hand-rolled cigarettes. This was a monkey temple of some sort. Anyway, I bumped into him once I left I only lasted 3.5 days at the retreat. And I left him when I bumped into this guy when I was walking out back to try and find a bus. And he took me back to his place with his family and cooked me lunch. And from there I went back to Pushkar, the holy lake of Pushkar. And I met this English boy. He was a drummer, and up on one of the buildings overlooking the lake, there was a Nagata teacher who taught Indian drum, and he'd drum every sunset. So I met all these people, all these drummers. Nagata teacher, here he is, he's playing the drums with his sticks. And I had my drum with me. And then we went back to Bednut, the little valley with the camel trailers that we took in there in the Rajasthan, but I can't remember how we got there this time. But I went in with a new crew. Now, a bit confused, but Sandash, the Italian boy, I met this guy in Thailand years before. I ended up in the foothills of the Himalayas where the Dalai Lama lives. I forget the name of the village. And I bumped into Sandash, and he had just finished doing motorcycle tours. He had 10 of these bikes, and he took people through the mountains, and he's like, "Get on the back, man, we'll cruise." So next thing I was cruising through the mountains. Look at all the ganja growing. And so we cruised. Had a great time, loads of adventures. You go into these villages and you just get mobbed by the locals. Way up into the Himalayas. We got stuck, we got a flat tyre, it was raining. Oh, hang on, it's another story. So this is up Parvati Valley. We went up Parvati, and you park up near the top, and then we hiked way up into these villages. These villages here, everything's made out of these big planks, because they're probably illegal logging. There might be Tibetans that have come down illegal logging, and they make this big slip through the forest like a big slide, and they'd build the slide out of these logs, and then they could throw the logs off the top, and they'd slide down into the river, and everything was made out of wood. This dude's riding a wooden skateboard down the side of the mountains. This is walking right up the top of Parvati Valley, Tulga and Tosh. These are thermal pools and glaciers up above us. Everything's made out of stone, and he's got a nice roof on that one, slate slabs, and the foothills of the Himalayas. Really, really beautiful. Cruising on the bike. Yeah, we got a flat tyre one day and this guy's like, oh, you should go and see my family just up the road. So we got the tyre fixed. I was wearing rubbish bags because I didn't have a raincoat, and of course it wasn't 5 minutes up the road. We ended up way up in this dirt track in the middle of nowhere with this cow chasing us up the road. That's another story. The Himalayas. So this is like 90, must be about 97. Way up in the hills. We used to walk for hours and go up into the hill tribes. I think these guys are shearing sheep. And we got stuck on this. This is a cable car. It's got a big cable at the front to pull it up the hill. We got on it, and we're going up the hill and we're thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. And then we worked out that the bloody cable car didn't come back until the next day, and there was no way of stopping it, so we had to jump off into the trees and roll back to the motorbike. And the mountains. The photo doesn't do it justice. Lots of waterfalls and little huts. Forget this girl's name, Sandash. In the Himalayas, all the Ganja. Beautiful. These are all handcrafted shrines. Traditional house. Up in the mountains. Man, I was fit back then. I think this is the top of the Parvati. It's like going back 400 years. Sandash. And then we went up the back of the Manali, the top of the Manali Valley. And there was a bit of a crew living up there. There's Gatika. I forget this girl's name. And Melissa. Melissa and I hanging out. Looks like there's a bit of a party going down. Gatika. I forget this girl's name. You can see here the decks are set up and the speakers. Gatika and I. Forget her name. Sandash. Melissa, myself. Gary Dinglepargle. Alright, after Hong Kong, got deported, running across the runway, got caught, went to the Philippines for a bit, and then came to Australia. Here's my mum and I at a market somewhere. Airlie Beach. Freya. Forget this boy's name. Airlie Beach. Where I met Chicky. Chicky was a muso. Caught up with my brother somewhere, Richard, the Groovy Bus. I got a feeling that might actually be in England. And then Felix and I knew a friend that was doing kayak tours around Hinchinbrook Island. Zoe Beach, there's Felix. So we did Hinchinbrook Island. This is me tour guiding somewhere, maybe the Great Ocean Road. Wrestling Snakes. This is down the Apostles, Melbourne, well, the southern coast of Victoria. I was tour guiding down there. Apollo Bay, doing 1-day tours and 2-day tours into the Mountain Ash, second largest tree on the planet. And wrestling snakes. Then out to Central Australia, flew out there to catch up with Checky. I don't know if this is, I think this is the Olgas, not the Rock. Thorny devil. All these little lumps channel the water down to its mouth. They just sit on your hand. The Olgas, I was out there for 6 months as a maintenance engineer. Checky was working for one of the tour companies. The amazing part of the world. Out in the red dirt. Kings Canyon.